the lady to call the roll.
Representative Bentley, Representative Bowling,
Here.
Representative Bray, Representative Brown,
Here.
Representative Chester Burton,
Here.
Representative Dixon, Representative Doan,
Present.
Representative Frazier Gordon, Representative Freeland,
Present.
Representative Hart,
Here.
Representative Imes,
Here.
Representative Justice, Representative Lockett, Representative Meredith, Representative Proctor, Representative Raymer, Representative Stalker,
Present.
Representative Stevenson, Representative Thomas,
Present.
Representative Fleming, Chairman Bridges.
Here. With that, we'll get our meeting started today. There will be no bills presented today. This is informational meeting for 3 different departments of government to give us an update on prior funding, where we're at, and how we're moving forward with that, and an effort to get them together so they can communicate and put a face with a name, so when we're talking we can make government run more smoothly. We are going to change the order today. I'm going to ask the Blake Robertson with the Owen County PVA and the PVA Association to come up and give us an update on what's going on in the world of PVAs and property valuations. Please introduce yourself, and the floor is yours.
So my name is Blake Robertson, and I am the Owen County Property Valuation Administrator. So as far as an update, we received money from you all, from the legislatures, given to us, and we, in my office personally, I got a tablet, which we use out in the field to capture data. We measure homes, measure garages, all types of buildings. We also take the great thing about having a tablet in the field is we can take pictures, we can capture sketches, and not have to wait to go back to the office to then upload all that information, whether from a digital camera or from literally a pen and pencil and paper. We've already captured it digitally, so we can just upload it quickly. Saves a lot of time for us. Also, I got 4 monitors with that money. That was able to give my staff dual monitors, so we can have multiple programs running at the same time, which is very helpful when you're dealing with public when they come into your office. It saves the public time. It saves us time, and so it's a win-win on that aspect of it. Also, our tax roll software and also my website was paid for the year through that money, and so that was very helpful. Again, my software and my website is a yearly fee that we have to keep up. But that was paid for through that money for this up-and-coming year. So that was very helpful also for our office with that money.
We got any questions? Representative Thomas.
Is your office fully staffed right now? I mean, and is it hard to keep and retain employees, or?
That's a loaded question, but yes, there was a study done. So I've been working in the office since 2010. I believe this, it was called the FAD formula, and this was done in I believe 2008 or 9. I'm not exactly sure on that. But according to that formula, technically my office should have 3 full-times and a part-time. Right now I'm only able to hire 2 full-times and a part-time, so technically or untechnically, I'm fully staffed. It is much harder when we stick to our schedules of what we can pay. It's terribly difficult. Most of what we can pay for the experience is around that $12 an hour range, and not unfortunately, but it just the way the world is right now. They can go to KFC, McDonald's, wherever, and make more money, you know. And it's hard to tell them, here, come work for us for less money. It just is. So that's where we're at.
I have a few questions. Just wondering, how is your 4-year evaluations going? Are you keeping up to date on that? Are they falling behind? Are they ahead? How's that working, and how are you?
Yeah, so my quad plan, we break that down into different counties do it differently. I break my county down into 4 sections. Some do it farm, commercial, residential, and then a cleanup year. But my office personally has been able to keep up in the last 4 years. I've been PVA since 2016, and it is really tough. And sometimes I can't gain all the data that I maybe fully need, but I just compile my sales, and you're talking about, because I'll do in a quad, even in my small county, I'll do probably 3,500 assessments a year. And so when you're doing that, you don't just do 1 or 2 a day, you know. You've got to really crank them out. So it is tight. It's tough. It's a hard job. But for my office personally, yes, I am keeping up with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see no further questions. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you all.
Oh,
I just wanted to register my attendance, please.
okay. I see that we're going to go back to the beginning of the order, and we're going to ask the County Clerks Association to come forward. I believe we have Ms. Clemens, and please come to the table, introduce yourself, and you may have the floor.
Good morning. I'm Tabitha Clemens. I'm the county clerk in Grant County and current president of the Kentucky County Clerks Association. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. I'm here to discuss the recorded instruments that we have housed in the county clerk's office, meaning deeds, mortgages, and all land records pertaining to property. As many of you know, there was bills passed a couple sessions ago to get county clerks to modernize that part of our office. We were very grateful for the work that came out of the task force that we had in the interim a few years ago. As of January 1st, 2024, all county clerks were required to offer the ability to file records online. So based upon our outreach to our counties, all but 5 counties are currently offering that service. 3 of those 5 offer the ability to search records online, but not to file them online at this time. Owsley and Leslie counties are the only counties that currently do not offer either the ability to file or search online. So out of the 120, we only have 2 that are not filing or searching online. The next deadline is June 30th. By which time counties must offer the ability to search deeds and other recorded instruments filed within 30 years. So that would be for a residential title search. By June 30th, we hope to have a lot more counties meeting those deadlines. The vast majority had already met those deadlines when we met back several years ago. About 85% of the counties met that criteria, but we're all still striving to get there. The challenges that we face right now. So the County Clerks Association have been working for the last several years with the Kentucky Department of Library and Archives. That's been kind of a stumbling block for us, the grant process that they house at the Kentucky Department of Library and Archives. But we are pleased to share that we've had positive conversations with the Commissioner and State Librarian Denise Lyons. She's new to that position. Those conversations have gone in a much better direction since her appointment to that position. And we look forward to engaging in more conversations with her and the process with KDLA in the future. She certainly understands the challenges that we faced during the past few grant cycles where county clerks have not been awarded funding for various reasons. And we're optimistic that under her leadership, there'll be a better partnership moving forward to ensure that county clerks receive that grant funding more timely and without so many roadblocks. So to update you on the RFP, there was $25 million in the last biennium budget that was put towards this project. The Department of Finance and Administration has completed their work for the RFP for the $25 million. And we look forward to starting to see that money flowing out through the Department of Local Government. We are working with the Department of Local Government currently to develop the application process for the funding to be able to be given out to county clerks. What that funding is for us to be able to start the back scanning projects. Many of us have already taken on that obligation in-house. We've done that either through using the $10 storage fee money that the bill created or through the Department of Library and Archives grant funding that was given, or just by our own finances in the office. So many of us had already started that process. In fact, hopefully by the end of the summer, my county and several others had a partnership where we brought in a group who scanned documents for us. A lot of the books that we're talking about from the time frame 30 to 60 years back are bound books, so it's not easily scannable. They're not loose leaf. They're bound. We have to take them out and get them on a really huge scanner to get all of the images that we need. So several counties went together and had a company come in and do those in-house for us over Christmas, through the Christmas holiday time. So there's a lot of counties that are already working on being able to have 30 to 60 years back. So that's the next deadline, is the 60 years deadline. But as far as the $25 million, we hope that process will be released from DLG very, very soon. So I'll take any questions.
I see no questions. I do have a few. Just want to follow up after our interim presentations and everything. I know
Sure.
with the grant process you mentioned, there seem to be some difficulties in working the schedules out as far as the grant application reviews and including the clerk's representatives in those review processes. Just wondering if you're aware of there's been any corrections in that or working on that schedule so that the way it's worked out. So.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Ms. Lyons has made some adjustments to the calendar for the clerks to be more involved in that grant review process. So we're looking, it looks positive at this point that that's going to be in a better direction moving forward.
Okay. And one other question. I know that you were having difficulties in knowing who the approved vendors were and who's acceptable and who's not, who's up to standards, licensed, insured, and all that. Has that been addressed at this point?
So the RFP process was complete the first week of January. That was released the first week of January. So those vendors have been notified that they were either accepted or not accepted. So that's moved forward now.
Okay. And is there access to the clerks themselves knowing which that approved vendor list? I know it used to be on the website.
Okay, so from the KDLA standpoint,
Yes.
not from the Finance Administration Cabinet. I don't know that that's been updated, that the approved vendor list through KDLA has been updated. That I don't recall receiving any information about that at this time.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I know that Ms. Lyons came and met with me after the meeting, and I think we had a very productive meeting. So hopefully those difficulties will be corrected and we can move forward. So,
Absolutely. We hope so too.
with that, we appreciate your testimony and thank you for
Thank
that
you so
update.
much.
Next up is the CLT's Division of Geographic Information. We've got Kent Annis up for the Geospatial Information Officer. If you don't mind, introduce yourself, and the floor is yours.
Good morning. Name is Kent Annis, the Geospatial Information Officer for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And
Is your microphone on?
I don't know.
Be a green light and pull it up there close.
Can you all hear me now? There's a green light on. Now there's a brighter green light.
There you go. Thank you.
All right. I just need to get my glasses on. Yes, I'm with the Commonwealth Office of Technology. I've been asked to give an update on the appropriation for aerial mapping for the whole state that was to help not only state agencies but the PVAs and units of local government. So, in the last 2022 regular session, there was a general fund appropriation of $8.5 million in each fiscal year that was put forth. You need to get out of there.
No, I think we. Committee will stand at ease. Appears we have technical difficulties, but as we call someone up, Kent, if you can go ahead and give us the numbers and go over parts of that, and then I know you had a part you did want to share with us on the video. Maybe they'll get here to get that corrected.
All righty, we can do that. In terms of the money that has been spent thus far, spent a little bit over $4 million in fiscal year 2023 and about 1.3 in fiscal year 2024 to date. The inability to expend those funds is directly tied to the fact that we get the money July 1st, can't start flying until the leaves are off the trees. By the time you get the first invoice, you're 9-10 months into the process. So as we knew going into this, we never were going to be able to spend all the money without needing to carry over some funding. We did have a few weather issues, although that was a minor component of some of the delays. But when we have flooding, when we have snow on the ground, when we have forest fires like we had last fall, things like that impact the ability to fly. Once again, this is all leaf-off aerial photography, so it can only be acquired when the leaves are off the trees and when the sun angle is correct. So the program goals were to acquire statewide ortho and oblique imagery. Ortho imagery being what you see on your Google map or whatever, where you're looking down at the top of your house. Oblique is you get 4 views of the side of everything. This is very useful for the assessors. It's very useful for first responders. It's useful for a lot of people that do GIS and mapping. As the budget bill stated then, it needed to meet the needs of state government, PBAs, and all units of local government. The Commonwealth owns this imagery. It is not a licensed product. That was also based on statutory requirements, and this ensures that the largest number of users will have access to it. The imagery must meet or exceed the specifications of the Kentucky Geographic Information Advisory Council. These specs ensure that folks like transportation, energy and environment, and other state agencies can use this for engineering and other environmental purposes and have the level of accuracy that is needed. It's not always the case that all users need that level of accuracy, but if we're going to spend the money, we need to spend it once. We need to get a product that suits everybody's needs. The imagery is freely available to all units of government, not just those who have paid for a license, and those in the private sector. There is no use restrictions. In terms of procurement, there was an RFP put on the street. Department of Revenue had people on the review committee, 2 units of local government, and multiple state agencies participated in the review of the RFP responses. A contract was awarded to Quantum Spatial, or NV5, but you need to understand there were 8 subcontractors that were a part of that. And those are some of the biggest names in the aerial photography industry. They all went together to submit a proposal. Return on investment. Of course, open access to all of this data really benefits all government entities. As I denoted earlier, design and build transportation, water, wastewater infrastructure, communication infrastructure. It can be used for that. Of course, we're going to use this to market the Commonwealth to both tourists and investors. There's no doubt about it, this new aerial photography will improve the situational awareness of our first responders. I can tell you firsthand that up-to-date current aerial photography is very useful in emergency response scenarios. It was very, very critical as it related to the tornado and flood responses. This imagery also, once again, after these responses, is being used to rebuild our communities. We have to have this information to move forward. It improves land use and community planning, and of course, the PBAs are using it to assess properties, and we're using it to manage our public lands. The state of Washington did an aerial imagery study in 2023. Just a couple notes from that is for every $1 spent on aerial imagery, there is a 7.5 or $7.35 cent return on investment over 6 years. I wanted to pull that out because that was a recent study, and that ROI sounds pretty good. But in probably 9-10 years ago, state of Indiana did a similar study, and their return on investment was closer to 25 to 1, not 7 to 1. So this was a more recent one, but does give you a little bit of an idea what the ROI is on this. In terms of deliverables, what is the state getting for this funding? The first off, as I said, we're getting the top-down or ortho view. We've got pictures. And we're getting a 4-band. There's an infrared band in here. And this is used for a lot of things, especially from an environmental and transportation perspective. We're also getting 3-band, 3-inch resolution oblique images. What you're seeing here is an oblique image. I believe that's in Pikeville. So as you can see, we're looking at things from an angle. Also, we thought this was really just for the PBAs. We're also getting county-based mosaics. In other words, we're putting together a single county to hand off to the PBAs. It's our understanding these are also going to be handed out to and utilized by KSP in all their dispatches. Along with that, we get the image frames, each image frame that was taken, the centroids and the flight lines. That lets us go back and say, this image was taken on this day at this time. That is one of our most frequently asked questions. It's really good to have that information and point people towards it. If not, we get asked that question all day, every day. Also, we have an application that lets us view the oblique imagery called the KY From Above Explorer. It's based on Sanborn's Oblique Analyst, one of the subcontractors on this particular project. We also have a review app that lets us review the data before we accept it. And although a little technical, we are processing all this data in what's called a cloud-optimized format because we're hosting it on Amazon. This is just a screen capture. This is up in Kingdom Come State Park. It's the northern, we're looking from the north to the south along the crest there of Pine Mountain, and we'll do a little demo, a quick demo of this later. These are the counties in green. There's 40 some odd counties that were collected and now online in the viewer. Acquisition milestones, close to half, 83 0.5% of the AOI was required the first year. We have about 40,000 miles in the state, so we almost got to half. There's the number of frames captured. Flights occurred on 43 different days, 128 missions. There were 53,204 miles flown to capture that data. So that first set captured 45% of Kentucky's land area. In the fall, we only had about 2 weeks. We picked up another 4,800 square miles of imagery. We had later than normal leaf off conditions last fall, or leaf on conditions, I must say. But now we stand at about 56% of the land area acquired. Year 2 flights will commence in late January of 2024. The Golden Triangle area is the highest priority area, but we anticipate that they'll make it quite a ways west of that particular mark. So once again, those counties right now are live. They're in the viewer. It's my understanding, and working with the Department of Revenue, that they've made sure the PVAs in those counties have access to that. State government agencies have access to it, and we're aware of folks that are already starting to use it in local governments. Had a really good conversation with the folks in the Rowan County Judge's Office about this a couple weeks ago. Timeline. 40 counties visible in the app right now. PVAs in the same region are using the data. We're still reviewing the ortho imagery. We're making sure that everything's good before final acceptance. We'll then have base map and downloadable data out there for everybody to use. And acquisition planning for 2024 has been completed. Just talked about the Golden Triangle area. And we've got at least a dozen aircraft staged for flights. In this image here, don't know if you can make it out, but there's a little faint line right there across that rock and stretching over here. This is Chain Rock above Pineville. I don't know if you've ever heard of that or been there, but this is high resolution enough you can see that chain, okay? And it doesn't matter whether you're in Lexington or Louisville or in Livingston, Kentucky. You're going to have access to the same level of data. You don't have to have a big tax base. You don't have to have a large population. The smallest counties are going to have access to this. The data, Kentucky was accepted into Amazon's Open Data Sponsorship Program. This is where the data is residing. It is now available through the Registry of Open Data on AWS. It's in a publicly accessible bucket. This is a significant cost savings to the state. To store one pass of the whole state, it's over $250,000 for 1 year, okay? As long as we keep this data in the public domain, Amazon will cover all storage and distribution costs. Once again, it's not a licensed product. This increases the return on investment exponentially. Every single additional set of eyes you can put on this means this investment goes further. It encourages innovation and obviously reduces duplicative spending. We don't want to store this more than once. We don't want to pay for it more than once. We want to buy it once. We want to put it in one place and put as many eyes on it as possible. We're already integrating with other GIS and applications within our GIS desktop software, within cloud-based GIS solutions. We've provided the API information to the PVA tax roll software vendor so they can use it within that particular app. And we're already working with the 911 Services Board, Mike Sinceri and that group, on getting this wired up in the NG 911 Supplemental Data Portal. So in this image you're seeing there in the background, we've got Knott County parcels, and we are also looking at next-gen 911 address points. I'll show you a little bit of this in detail in a moment. Local government benefit. Local governments are excited about this. All of a sudden, they aren't having to put this in their budget. They can rely on the state if we can come up with a consistent 3-year refresh cycle. It provides a consistent statewide solution. Once again, doesn't matter what size, what part of the state you're in, what size your county is, you're going to have the same level of data. It's going to be accessible by the smallest and poorest counties. Once again, the have and have-nots that we talked about last fall. Not restricted to the agencies that have paid for it. Anybody can use this. Once again, local governments desire an alignment with their refresh cycle, which is typically a 3-year refresh cycle. And obviously, they're looking for consistent and ongoing funding of the project. PBA benefit. In addition to the $17 million appropriation for the mapping project, $3.188 million was given to DOR, and Blake spoke about this a few minutes ago. That was to modernize the PBA offices, get them larger monitors, get them better computers, tablets that they could use in the field, and things like that that would help them take advantage of this data and also modernize their operations. So collectively, these operations have benefited the PBAs in the following ways. It provides aerial photography to small and medium-sized counties that could not afford it in the past. Once again, the have and have-nots. Allows counties without planning and zoning to identify new structures for addition to the tax roll. Finding additions to structures that may not have been reported, they can get that on the tax roll. And as Blake indicated, this having access to newer technologies can benefit the PBAs that have staffing issues. Makes them more efficient, lets them be able to get more done with less staffing. State agency benefit. There's the laundry list, folks, and you could extend that even further. But there's not an agency in state government that uses GIS that isn't taking advantage of this. The only cabinet that does not have any GIS staff is personnel. Every other cabinet has GIS staff and is using it. There are several hundred across the state. And so it doesn't matter whether we're looking at taxation, wildlife management, or emergency response. All the folks are tapping into and using this. Of course, the funding was not showing in House Bill 6. The amount that was cut from there was $5.66 million or so, and that was specifically for the mapping project. If we're going to continue this project on behalf of the state agencies and PBAs, that funding will be important. Of course, it'll be used by all the entities we've discussed earlier. And we were pleased that the governor's budget recommendation did shift to a 3-year cycle. We've kind of been preaching about this ever since the start of the project. And as I alluded to earlier, this 3-year refresh cycle aligns with mainly the larger communities, Lexington, Louisville, Northern Kentucky, Paducah, Owensboro, those that are already using a 3-year update cycle. So we've provided this PowerPoint, and they said they want to get a copy for you all. We'll put a link out there too. There's some links in here, but let's go take a look at this real quick. So this was what we were looking at there in Knott County. Not any parcel lines on there. We can't show that stuff publicly. But just to show some integration here with the NextGen 911 points. So I've clicked on this. This is the school down there, and we've built a little script, a little tool that launches the viewer, and it takes that 911 address point, the coordinates from that, and it drops that dot right there on top of the school, right where the 911 address point was. And then it allows us to go in and start interacting with this. So once again, not only do you get the top-down view, but you can also view the school from all different cardinal directions. So it looks like somebody's getting dropped off or picked up from school there. And I was talking with Mike Tackett. Their ball field up here is in a hole. It's an interesting location for a ball field, both their football field and their baseball field. So bottom line, this Explorer is out there for folks to use. You can look at the imagery from many different angles. It has a Google base map underneath of it. It's really easy to move around. Everybody's familiar with the Google base map, so I just clicked at the intersection up here and can go in and once again interact with the map in many different ways. One of the requirements was, specifically by the PBAs, is that we have all these tools that allow them to measure different features. export PDFs so they can share those and all sorts of things. But this was part of the procurement process, is that we made sure that all the tools that the PBAs were used to having were accessible within this viewer. So with that, I'll take any questions and about the program and the progress that's been made.
Representative Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ken, thank you very much. I'm sorry I was late. I was battling the weather as well as the traffic out of Jefferson County. So anyway, I'm here, and I apologize for not being here a little earlier to catch the Blake's presentation as well. I wanted to see if you can comment on the protocols for security, homeland security aspect in terms of compiling this data and so forth. Obviously, the public can sit there and bring up the imagery to really good accuracy, which is good, but then again, it's also concerning just from a terroristic type of approach, and I've addressed that many years ago in terms of trying to contain that information. And obviously, I'm glad. I know that the parcel information should be available to the public, because that could be extracted in scrupulous ways from folks. So, could you comment about just about the protocol from a security, homeland security point of view?
Well, at this particular point, we're not encroaching upon a resolution of imagery that would cause concern from the Homeland Security perspective. There are communities across the nation. There are a couple communities, I believe, in Kentucky, that this is a 3-inch pixel image, okay? It's my understanding Louisville has 3/4 of an inch. Mm-hmm. Our technical advisory committee has discussed that. That seems just maybe a little too far. That's just kind of the general consensus of our technical advisory committee. But once again, at a 3-inch resolution, we are not really encroaching upon that level of scrutiny that Homeland Security is going to exercise over this. And of course, the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security and the 911 Services Board is very supportive of this project, as in they're trying to get this integrated into all the dispatches. So,
one more question, Mr. Chairman. Yes. Thank you. You mentioned in the presentation of the House Bill 6 did not include the allocation of the money. It's at 5.6, I believe. Yeah. Could you tell me, or give the background, or give us a comment from your perspective on the ramifications of not funding that particular product, not only from a state point of view, but also from the PVA county point of view?
Well, what you're going to end up with is about 65% of the state probably complete, and then the rest of the state, the western half, not complete. So that would be the larger ramifications of it. So the 5.7, let's just round that up, 5.7 million that's been requested is less than the 8.5 that was originally appropriated, mainly due to the fact that we want to spread this out over 3 acquisition seasons, not 2, and so, you know, it is a reduction in the request, but once again, not seeing this through and at least getting the state once, you're going to leave a lot of states, or a lot of counties, especially those in the western part of the state, with no product to access.
And that will affect their budget, will it not? Because this initiative you're doing is really holding tight in terms of having the state absorb that cost and toward the benefit of all, and it's compensated by that on a county level, and you know, in terms of them saving some money, not only from a personnel point of view, but also on a processing and logistic point of view.
Correct, and we've heard over and over, especially, you know, from the larger communities who can afford these things, that even going through the procurement process is a costly measure. And so being able to have this, know that it's going to be available and accessible on a 3-year refresh cycle, lets them plan accordingly. Logic, the Louisville Jefferson County Information Consortium, is foregoing their flights this in 2024. They're going to use the state's data. I mean, that's the largest GIS implementation at the local level in the state, and obviously they've bought into this. So it's a significant cost savings, not only for a community that can afford it, but just imagine those that have never had it. You know, the staff at DOR has indicated that a lot of these counties who've never had it before, that now have access to it, are already, you know, finding great value in it. So we've opened this up. I'll go back and say it again. The have-nots is who we're helping here. Those are the ones that are getting the greatest benefit. But we can't dismiss the fact that folks like Logic are also going to be benefiting from the program.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Chairman. I can go and talk about this all day long since that's my background, but thank you very much for your presentation.
I've got just a couple of questions. We have a process where you can compare previous flyovers to current ones, where you can, and I'm thinking from a PVA aspect, you know, what are the changes? You know, has there been an addition on this property? Is there an improvement on a farm and things of that nature? Will you be able to have a comparative process of that? Or
Yes, and mainly the comparative process would be with the orthos from the top-down view. And we have statewide coverage of 6-inch orthos that began in 2019 and ended in 2022. We'll then have this 3-inch, and we'll be able to compare those. We also have all the historical aerial photography going back, I don't know, almost 20 years. So that's all in there as well. And, you know, there are lots of tools within our software that allow us to do those comparisons. There are also add-on tools that can be purchased that allow you to do that. But yes, that change over time is very important. Although it doesn't apply to aerial photography, we're just getting ready to wrap up second statewide coverage of LiDAR data. And before and after the floods that just happened, that change over time is very important. And like you said, for the PVAs to see what's changed over time, they can see if things need to be added to the tax roll and such. But having data, multiple sets of it, multiple iterations that you can go back and look at over time, really paints a story, gives you a picture of things that you might not have seen otherwise. So it's valuable having access to that.
Representative Bentley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I calculate the squares I need for my roof with this?
You probably can. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine's mother-in-law passed away right before Christmas, and they wanted to fix up their house, and they wanted to have some new roofing put on and some new gutters. And my friend got some bids, and he met one gentleman there at the house, and he asked the gentleman, said, well, have you visited the house before to get these measurements? And he said, no, sir. He said, I pay $4,500 a year as a contractor for this access to this service. He said, so I can go in and calculate the square footage on your roof and figure your gutter and never have to drive to Frankfurt to do so. So yes, it's absolutely capable of that. And once this is available, those contractors won't have to pay that $4,500 a year fee. They'll be able to go and calculate that on their own. So, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I see no further questions. I do want to let everyone know that this presentation will be available on our website, on our committee website. So what we did fail to see at the first part, we'll post it. So anyway, with that, I want to share my appreciation to all three entities that shared information today, and we appreciate the update. And hopefully this can be a move that will help along the communications and understanding between all parties so that we can move the state further. With that, we'll stand adjourned.